Am I the arsehole? For saying pissed for not wanting an orthodox ceremony for our son. This may sound pretty stupid, nevertheless I want to post it here and hear your opinion. My parents, in-laws and wife want to have this orthodox ceremony for our son, and I am against it. While my wife was pregnant and during the first few months after birth, she agreed with me. Later, my in-laws visited us, and she visited them a few times and suddenly she changed her decision and now wants to have this ceremony. Or rather, she wants to do it for her parents. I am against this, because it celebrates the orthodox hierarchy system and all the hypocrisy it comes with it. A year or so back, my wife agreed to it as I wanted my son to be out of this age-old orthodox mindset and to be better than that. I lengthily spoke to all my family members about why I want to opt out and why I have another opinion and that I want my son to grow in a different and a better way. Now, if I do it because of their pressure, I will be a laughing stock as my words mean nothing and it would just be seen as an immature rant. Additionally, this ceremony must be done by the father as the mother has no rights, a patriarchal mindset. So, I am in a way, just the last piece in the puzzle. It was also shocking to hear that my wife is okay with the patriarchal mindset for this ceremony because it makes her parents summarize. I am the only one not happy about it and everyone is angry at me for making a big fuss about it. X200B. Edit 1. We are a Hindu family and my parents and in-laws are of Brahmin caste. The ceremony is harmless, but if I do it, there will be many more to follow with similar arguments. Edit 2. I even offered that I will be out of it and that my wife can do it in my stead. But no, the religion does not allow women to do it. Only the father should. And that is one of the many views I completely reject. Edit 3. Thank you all for your support and honest opinions. I really appreciate it. In a way, sharing it here did help me. Wish you all a nice day. This ceremony must be done by the father. If it's a patriarchal mindset they're into, then you the father have already made up your mind and they should accept it. It's a bit of a joke if the father has to be bullied into this ceremony, whatever it is. Not the arsehole. Not the arsehole. It is fair for you to be able to choose what religion if any you want to expose your child to. It would be really frustrating for your partner to at first support you, and then switch teams as soon as she talks to her parents about it. If she is only doing this to appease her parents, then it's even worse. Not the arsehole. Your wife needs to realize that making her parents happy cannot be her first priority anymore. Her child and her husband need to come first. Not the arsehole. I don't think children should be forced to undergo religious ceremonies they neither understand nor can consent meaningfully to. Not the arsehole. Don't do stuff that doesn't sit right with you, especially when it involves your children. Absolutely not the arsehole. This should really be a 2 yes, 1 no situation, that is, you only proceed with it if both parents say yes, if one says yes, end of. And no, your in-laws do not get a vote. They can express their opinion, you can hear them, then it's down to you and your wife. Not the arsehole. Your wife initially agreed, before your son was born, not to engage in the ceremony. She was obviously pressured by her family after our son was born to change her mind. She needs to establish boundaries with her family on issues like this. The positive thing is that you said that the ceremony needs your participation, so if you say no, then that should be the end of it. That said, be aware your in-laws will probably do all they can to indoctrinate your son whenever they are around him. Not the asshole. Your wife agreed with you and for whatever reason, changed her mind afterwards. It was agreed the entire time that you would not do this ceremony, and I think she should respect your wishes and decision to not want to be a part of it. Sure, talking things over if she changed her mind is okay, but to then join with everyone else in trying to pressure you to do something you don't agree with and you voiced your uninterest in the first place, so that should be respected, emo. Not the asshole. Never compromise on what is best for your son to appease others. Not even your wife, and especially not your in-laws. Also, if they actually believed this the orthodox system, then they would respect your choice. Their subversion of it for their own priorities is more damaging and disrespectful to that system than your outright refusal. Thank you all for your support and honest opinions. I really appreciate it. In a way, it did help me to share. Wish you all a nice day. Your in-laws had their chance to do whatever they wanted with their children. What happens with your son is your decision, not theirs. Not the asshole. Ask your wife who she would prefer to make happy, you or her parents. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Along with everything else the other commenters have said, you already had an agreement with their wife. Patriarchal mindset, that's funny. You need to use that against them, which means you need tell them hell no and to F off. You ain't doing that. If they give you shit, tell them they are banned from seeing your family forever. Then get your wife in check, tell her she is not allowed contact of any kind with anybody except you. That's a patriarchal mindset. Your family would be very proud of you for putting your foot down. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. All religion is BS. Sounds like you have the upper hand if the ceremony has to be done by you. Just refuse to do it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If this religion is so patriarchal, then they should listen to you. Tell your wife that there will be no ceremony, and according to her own religion she needs to respect your authority, otherwise she's a hypocrite. Well, the only people's say who matter is yours and your wife's, as the parents. I would stand my ground if I were you, as it's something that you specifically have to do and you don't want to do it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You've already made your decision, and you can live with it. Not the asshole. Use their mindset against them. As the man and head of the family, you are saying no. Info: what ceremony? What religion? What does it demand of you? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You participated in the making of the child. This means you get a say in the child's religious affiliation, ceremonies, and upbringing. In certain situations, if the parents don't agree, nothing should happen. This is one of those situations. Other people's opinions don't matter. You can listen to them but let it go in one ear and out the other. No stopping in the middle. Thanks for doing your best to forge a new path for your son. Not the asshole. For stuff like this, if both parents aren't a yes, then the answer is no. Not the asshole. Avoid indoctrinating your child from the start. Let them make up their mind when they are old enough. I'm so curious as to what the ceremony is. Not the asshole. Sit your wife down and tell her to convince you, but she isn't allowed to use that family wants it or to keep peace in the family. She must convince you on the merits of the ceremony alone. Doubt she will be able to, and may end up realizing herself that it isn't what she wants for child. You can also tell her why it isn't good idea. Not the asshole. You have every right to disagree with this, and TBH so would I. I think as well I would be concerned as your son gets older they start influencing his decisions in regards to their wants and beliefs. Not the asshole. How weird is it that your wife wants to bully you into being in charge? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your wife needs to realize that making her parents happy shouldn't be top of her priority list. Not the asshole. No child should be put through a religious ceremony without their consent, ergo, never before they turn an age where such consent can be given. You are doing the right thing. Let me guess. Hindu and mundane ceremony? You are necessary for it to happen. You hold out. They can't do anything without insulting your role. If you do not agree with it, don't do it. Tell them they are welcome to have more children and raise them with all the traditional stuff. Your kid is not available, nor your consent. I'm more concerned about how this impacts your marriage. Make this a primary factor in decision making. Editing to say. If my guess is correct, that's pretty traumatic for a kid. So there's an argument for your wife. Am I the asshole? For telling my sister what not to name her daughter? My wife and I had been trying to have a baby for several years, went through IVF, 2 miscarriages, and when we finally got a viable embryo we found out the baby girl had brain damage incompatible with life and had to get an abortion in week 16. We were absolutely devastated. We now have 2 healthy boys, but we haven't forgotten our baby girl and think about her often, leave candles at the cemetery, etc. My sister is 9 months pregnant and wants to give her baby the same name as our dead daughter. I've told her several times that the name is off limits and to choose another one. But she's just texted me and my mum asking what we think about her short list of 3 names and that name was still on it. I've told her off and demanded she takes it off her list. She refuses to talk to me about it and wants to do as she pleases. Who's the asshole here? Info: is it a name with special meaning in your family? Like your grandmother's name? There should be a lot of other names to choose. I'm sorry for all you had to go through. Not the asshole. To people saying you don't own the name, if you're above 15, get over yourselves. Way for your sister to poison you and your wife's relationship with her and the niece by naming her after your dead baby you still mourn. It's not so much about the name itself, but creating a living reminder of what you went through that will be in your face, so to speak, at random times. How she can be so inconsiderate of her brother you is beyond me. Not the asshole. Yes, fine, technically nobody owns a name, and yes, technically you can't ban her from using it, but there is nuance in the world FFS. Your sister sounds horrendously cruel. Not the asshole. You're not trying to book a name for a hypothetical child, this is the name of your actual child. Your sister is being hugely insensitive about this. Now, waiting for the downvotes. Not the asshole. As your sister, she should know or at least contemplate how this might make you feel. Absolute best case scenario would be if she asked in the hope of bringing commemoration to your angel by naming her daughter the same. Such a thing might require quite a special relationship with your sister. But, I feel you have the right to say she shouldn't use the same name if it doesn't sit right with you. Not the asshole. However, there's not much you can do if she does use that name. Instead of trying to control your sister, perhaps you should tell her what to expect from you, your wife, if she chooses to use the name. Very sorry for your loss. Not the asshole. Does your sister want her baby to be told she was named after her dead cousin when she's older? 'Cause that's what is going to happen if she chooses the same name. I honestly can't understand people who do this. There are millions of names out there. Pick a different one. Not the asshole, and I question the integrity of anyone who votes any other way. This isn't about owning a name or banning a name because it was the name of your favorite book character in 3rd grade. There are thousands upon thousands of names. This is Op's dead child's name. Sis is willing to cause her sibling pain and grief for a lifetime because the name is pretty to her. What kind of person is willing to cause ongoing emotional pain to a loved one for life because they can't be bothered to pick one of thousands of pretty names instead? The kind of person who is an asshole. Info: was the name you chose for your daughter a significant name in the family, honoring a grandmother or someone like that? Not the asshole. Of course no one owns a name, but the lack of empathy from the sister is appalling. 20,000 baby names are out there. I almost feel like she is rubbing in the brother's face that she has a daughter and theirs didn't count. I don't know if I could come back from that if she follows through. Before me and my husband had children, we already had a boy name and a girl name in mind, though it wasn't something we particularly discussed with anyone. Before we had our first, my sil gave birth to a very poorly baby girl, who she named a shortened variant of the name we had in mind if we had a baby girl. Heartbreakingly, she died several weeks later. We went on to have baby boys, but we would never have considered using the name we had originally discussed if we had had a baby girl. That would have been such a heartless and cruel thing to do. Not the asshole. It's very sad that you have been put in this horrible position. Not the asshole. It's like family members don't even care about each other. Who does that to their sibling? You don't own the name MFS when they need to show someone empathy. Seriously though, not the asshole. She is trash for that. Nata, but she is. The baby I didn't get to keep to term I named Elsie. Now anytime I hear the name I remember I could have had an Elsie. Which is daft as I never knew the gender, but I just felt it was a girl. I think of how old she would be etc. Now if my sister asked me about the name I'd probably say fine, but I'd also explain my attachment to the name, and knowing my sister it wouldn't even be a question. She just wouldn't use it. Because it's insensitive and mean-hearted to continue like that. Your sister sounds horrid. Normally nobody gets to own a name, but this is an unusual case and your sister is definitely TA. Not the asshole. My brother and his wife lost their baby when the child was just a few hours old. A year later my aunt named her son the same name, a name that had no ties to our family other than the deceased boy. It was cruel and unnecessary. Ask your sister why it is so important to her to cause you pain. Because it makes no sense she is willing to sacrifice her relationship with you over a name. Not the asshole. The fact that she has 2 other names she's considering yet is the icing on the she's the ass cake. She's been informed multiple times that this would be upsetting, she's actively looking for input, and she's actively ignoring input. Why can't she knock that one name off the list and focus on the other 2? Not the asshole. I considered using my niece's name for my daughter's middle name a few years after she passed. I didn't even like the name, but I loved my niece. I asked my sister, and she said it would hurt her if I did. It was immediately crossed off the list. How could your sister be so cruel? Not the asshole, but your sister sure is enough said. I don't know how it's so hard for some people to wrap their heads around the idea that even if doing something isn't inherently wrong, if it's genuinely upsetting to someone you care about, that should bother you. Not the asshole. Your sister is being selfish, inconsiderate and unfeeling to keep that name in the mix after you expressed your feelings in the matter. I'd stop kicking up a fuss and tell her and your mother plainly that it's not okay and they are risking their future relationship with you and your family if she insists on using the name. Not the asshole. Just because someone is free to cause someone else pain doesn't mean they should. If one name would cause my brother a lifetime of pain to hear, there is no way I'm using it. I hope she realizes what she would be doing to you and your wife and chooses something else. Nah, but slightly leaning towards your sister possibly being one. I know it's sensitive, but a 16-week fetus may not hold the same weight for everyone in your family, the way it did to you. Yes, she was very much your daughter and child, but unfortunately that doesn't mean her name which you had decided to give to her at birth is off limits to others. Your sister isn't wrong to like it still and wish it for her child, and you aren't wrong in your emotional aspect, but logically, your sister isn't wrong either. That being said, I personally wouldn't ever do this to my sister on an emotional level. Not the asshole. I couldn't imagine naming my child after my stillborn niece. My niece deserves the right to her name, especially since she didn't get to enjoy breath. Not the asshole. Buy a dog and give it the name of your sister's most hated ex-boyfriend. And make sure you call him especially often when she's around you. Perhaps then she will realize what hurtful memories can be brought up by associations. Your sister is essentially forcing you to think about and grieve for your late daughter, over and over, forever. That is cruelty to another level. She is a total asshole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. How self-centered is your sister if she can't realize that if she did choose that name her daughter, that every time you spoke about or saw your niece it would bring back painful memories. I hope your sister sees sense. I'm sorry for your loss. Would I be the asshole for not wanting to add my half-sister to the deed of a property after my mum's death? My mom passed away in April without a will, and I'm currently going through probate to transfer my parents' properties. I plan to sell the church house and keep the one where my half-sister is living. I am my mom's only child, and my half-sister is on my dad's side, who passed away in 2020. My half-sister has been living at the second property for almost 20 years, paying rent to my dad and then to my mom since my mom let me handle rent collection. A little over a week after my mom's funeral, she approached me and said, "I'd like to be added to the deed after the mortgage is paid off." I was stunned by the request and didn't know what to say, so I told her I would ask the lawyer about it. I can understand her perspective, as paying rent for 20 years without having property in your name can be frustrating. She might also be worried about me raising the rent. She currently pays $875 in Los Angeles. The mortgage is $500, but the market rate on Zillow is $2,000. However, I have several reasons for not wanting to add her to the deed. 1. My dad used to complain to me about how she took advantage of his kindness by not paying the rent in full by the 1st of every month, half on the 1st and half on the 15th, causing him to make up the shortfall himself until the middle of the month. Sometimes she'd skip a month of rent to go on vacation. 2. While sick with cancer, my dad advised me not to let people take advantage of me, especially if they're family, as it was one of his biggest regrets. 3. She lied to me about the reason my dad raised the rent, claiming it was so he would take over repairs because she was doing them herself with the lower rent. I remember accompanying my dad when he made repairs himself as a kid, so this is obviously not true. 4. Her request to be added to the deed after the mortgage is paid off seems unfair, as it implies she wants the benefits of homeownership without the debt involved if I decided to keep the mortgage. Once probate is finished and title is transferred to your name, do a transfer on death deed, so therefore once everything is in your name, whoever you pass it on to, it avoids probate since it's available in California, and it avoids probate altogether. This way she can't contest it after you pass. Follow your parents' wishes, otherwise they would have provided for her, and realize that this is your legacy, so focus on what you're providing for your economic benefit since she's worrying about hers and not yours. Not the asshole, and don't put her name on anything. If she wanted to own a home after paying rent for 20 years, then she should have actually bought a home. You are not obligated to her in any way, so listen to your dad. He sounded like a very wise man. Sorry about the loss of both your parents. Perhaps you could offer to sell her the house at market value or just below so she can stay there. If she can't afford it, that is not your concern. She sounds entitled for asking for her name to be put on the deed after it is paid off. In my opinion, if she has not been good to you and a positive influence in your life, you do not owe her anything. You can be generous and give her a long time to move out. If the houses were joint assets of your parents and bought by both of them, your sister is inheriting nothing just because your father passed away first. She's not entitled to an inheritance, but I can see why she'd think she'd get a share of her dad's assets now they're passing down to the next generation. Not the asshole because you're following the process of your mom dying without a will, but unless you know your dad didn't want her to inherit, the fair thing to do would be to give her half of her dad's assets that are left. Not the asshole. There's a reason everything was left to you. If he wanted her to have the house, he would have said so. Not the asshole. She didn't spend 20 years building equity. She spent 20 years paying rent, and low rent at that. Unless her father's on the deed to the house, it's your house now. Not the asshole, but create a new lease with a lawyer, not just the internet. And asking to be on the deed after the mortgage is paid is pretty cheeky. But I'd make it clear it's a no, so there's no ambiguity. If your mum wanted her to have part of it, she'd have done something about it the last 20 years. Please draft a will if you don't have one, not because of this situation, but I think everyone should have one. People, please spend the money and get a will drawn up. Why did neither of these parents do this? Now it's just a mess of he said. Very irresponsible, especially with blended families. My husband and I married after we had our children in previous marriages. He has 2, I have 1. Our will states and will state, after the last one of us passes, our estate divides 3 ways equally. My son will not get more because he is only 1. Hoping the way we have it written will save a lot of hassle. Pertinent word, hoping. Money can bring out evil in many. Not the asshole. Don't gift the house or half to this person. She's entitled AF. Honestly, she's been living at a significantly reduced rate for 20 years it seems. She isn't owed a house because she paid a bit of rent. If you wanna be gentle, give her 6 or 12 months of notice that the rate will increase to something like market value and to be paid on the first every month unless you want to sell. I'm assuming that your dad died intestate and so his whole estate passed to his then wife, and then down to you. Morally you're the asshole. Unless the house was only your mum's, then it is as much her inheritance as it is yours. Her request to be added to the deed after the mortgage is paid off seems unfair, as it implies she wants the benefits of home ownership without the debt involved if I decided to keep the mortgage. Except she's paying more than the mortgage in rent right now, right? Assuming I'm understanding your post correctly, if your parents had died in reverse order, mom first, then dad, your half-sister automatically would have gotten half, right? Assuming I'm not missing anything, I'm going with you're the asshole, though not strongly so. Info: was the house a marital asset, or was it your mom's or dad's before they got married? If it was a marital asset or originally your dad's, then yes, you're the asshole. Your stepsister got disinherited simply because your dad died first. Also, your parents RIP kinda suck for having substantial assets and doing no estate planning. Your several reasons are weak and reek of post hoc justification for a decision you've already made. You're the asshole. You're charging your sister almost double the mortgage in rent which she's been paying for 20 years. How was she taking advantage of anyone? And what's unfair is getting a mortgage paid off by your sister. If you're so worried about the debt she's been paying off, transfer it to her now. Also, don't trust Zillow rates, they're often inflated since they have a stake in keeping property prices high. Depending on the rest of the estate, maybe you're the asshole. I'm not sure where I understand where it is more yours than hers, except your mom lived longer. Is this what your mom would want? My God, your sister has literally paid the mortgage on the property for 20 years. She's not some rando tenant. You're the asshole. It's what people are saying. You've gotten hundreds and thousands in assets from your parents and you're not willing to share any of it with your sister? I mean, what the hell? The other comments here are eye-opening. People are more nasty and selfish than I ever would have imagined. If the home belonged to your dad who was also her dad, why would she not be entitled to half once your parents died? I assume you think all her dad's stuff went to your mom when he died. So now that your mom died, you are entitled to all their shared assets while your sister gets nothing. You're the asshole. If there is no will, she has a good chance to fight you on this if she gets a lawyer. Why should you get everything just because your dad died before your mom? You're the asshole. Both of your parents have died. Sorry about that, but your half-sister inherited nothing because neither of your parents had a will. She has been paying the mortgage and repairs this whole time on a house. I think that you should give her the house. Ideally you would have split all of the properties fairly across all of the kids, so you are TA for not doing that. However, the sister has actually been financially contributing to the property, which nobody else has. So frankly, I am unsure why you or any of the siblings think they should profit from it. Am I the asshole? For telling my sil to butt off and let me eat food the way I want? I am a white girl married into a Japanese family. My husband's family has never really accepted me because I am white, but they're not that bad most of the time. Usually, they are just cold, but my sil is very hostile, especially when it comes to food. I don't like sushi and my sil always tried to get me to eat it and has yelled at me for things like using too much soy sauce, eating my dumpling whole and not dipping it in sauce first, mixing wasabi with my soy sauce, drinking sake with rice, etc. X200B. Recently we went out for dinner with them for my birthday. I am okay with chopsticks, but I still struggle with them sometimes. I was trying to pick up a piece of meat and I just used one of the chopsticks to stab the meat and eat it. Sil immediately started yelling at me saying I was disrespectful. I told her I would eat my food however I liked and to please mind her own business. She always does this and I have had enough. People can eat however they like. I am sick of her picking at my food habits. X200B. She said I was being disrespectful to her culture. I told her how I chose to eat food is my choice and to mind her own business. Things got ugly and I left. My husband stayed with them. I have been married to him for 5 years and dating for 7. I have learned his language and speak Japanese with his family. His family has had none of that same respect for me. To this day none of his family has ever tried Egyptian food or tried to learn the language. I have been expected to learn it even though they speak perfect English. We live in Europe yet I am always expected to conform to his culture. Am I the asshole? X200B. Edit. Every time I ask for a fork his family gets very offended so I can't ask for one. 99 of the time I do okay with chopsticks. This piece was just tiny and slippery. I used the bottom chopstick to just poke it a little for extra grip, then used the other one. So what's your husband do about his family's disrespect? My question is, why would you go to a sushi restaurant on your birthday, when you don't like sushi? It's your birthday, choose a place you enjoy. And why would you be okay being treated like dirt by your spouse? Forget the in-laws, your husband should be the one defending you. Most Asian cultures inherently put the men above the women. If he shut down this behavior from his family you wouldn't be here on Reddit. Do you truly want to be with someone who doesn't love you enough to stick up for you? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Hun, I would seriously consider if this relationship is worth a lifetime of this BS. Him staying with his family after you left is very concerning. My husband stayed with them. Your husband just asked for a divorce. Give it to him. He doesn't defend you, he allowed you to be insulted until you had to leave the situation, and he still stayed with them. Not the asshole. Sillies, but your husband is the biggest problem. Not the asshole. The fact that your husband has allowed his sister to bully you relentlessly for years is unacceptable, but on your birthday? He seriously let you leave your own birthday dinner and stayed with them? Why are you still married to a man that weak? He either agrees with their racist attitudes, or he doesn't care enough about you to protect you from them. Either way, you should leave him. He's never going to protect you. Don't waste any more of your life on someone like that. Not the asshole. Things got ugly and I left. My husband stayed with them. Mom. Your husband chose his family over you. On your birthday. You have much bigger issues than his sister not respecting you. He himself doesn't even respect you. Not the asshole, but you have a husband problem if he lets them attack you every time you see them. I think you may need to really think if this is how you want this for the rest of your life to be. If you really want to be with someone who will never stands up for you and lets his family belittle you every chance they seem to get. Your husband's family is behaving very, very badly by Japanese standards. My spouse was born and raised in Japan and we recently went back for a family reunion. I don't speak much Japanese except for a few phrases, and I have never mastered chopsticks. My spouse's family was incredibly polite to me, got me a fork when I asked, insisted on speaking English so I would understand the conversation, and in general treated me like a princess. I did not encounter any rude behavior while I was in Japan from anyone. His family is deliberately being rude to you. You are not the asshole. Your husband needs to stand up to the sill for you. Not the asshole. She's just looking for an excuse. If it wasn't food it would be something else. Not the asshole, but also. Things got ugly and I left. My husband stayed with them. Your husband should have stuck up for you, and left when you left. Not the asshole. They've made zero effort. You've made all the effort. Why is your husband allowing this? We live in Europe. We use forks here, sweetie. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. The R in this story is your husband who doesn't stand up for you. That is a failure as a husband. Not the asshole. She's a busybody. Hell, just request a fork and knife. If it bothers her, tell her that she is disrespecting your culture. Not the asshole. And BTW, this is not about them being Japanese or their culture, they're being mean. My grandmother is a very traditional Japanese woman and she would have none of your sil's nasty behavior. I ask for a fork, his family gets very offended. Let them get offended. Or even better, always come prepared with your own. I'd love to see the look on Sil's face when you whip your own fork out of your purse. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but please stop ignoring all the red flags. You have a husband problem. Tell him he needs to choose wife or get the life and partner you deserve. Info: is there a reason you went to celebrate your birthday at a restaurant that required chopsticks when you don't like using them? Like, were you able to select the celebration location, or did your husband, or was this the family's gift to you? Not the asshole. I lived in Japan for years and I will tell you none of what you're describing is offending Japan. Your husband and his family sucks. Your Sil sucks, but your husband is just as bad for not defending you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I am a firm believer that when you move to another country, you adopt that country's language, laws, customs, and culture. You are allowed to keep yours, and practice them at home and with family and share that with others. But from what you've written, you're being forced to follow their customs and culture, while they get to completely ignore yours. That's not fair to you. The fact that all of this goes on while your husband sits idly by and lets it happen is pretty telling as well. Quite honestly, you two need marriage counseling. He needs to either stand up for you, or you need to start doing some hard thinking. Not the asshole. Kinda unreasonable for them to expect you to know how to use chopsticks, and it's even more unreasonable for them to get angry at you for reaching for a fork. Strange that your husband chose to stay with them rather than have your back though. You had mentioned that you took the time to learn their language so you could speak their native language with them, and they haven't taken the time out of all this time to learn anything about your culture. Best of luck, op. Why do you even ask yourself if you're an asshole here? Do you have self-esteem issues? Look, I get your situation. The only question you should be asking yourself is if you can put up with your situation. Your husband is not going to start defending you to his family. That will never happen. If I were you, I wouldn't be able to tolerate this unless you only knew you had to see them a few times per year. Not the asshole. Why are you with him? He doesn't respect you. He lets them be hostile towards you. I am not Japanese, but I can't believe that your sister-in-law is choosing a stupid-ass sword to die on. Learning a foreign language to enable conversations with your in-laws shows that you are respectful, and I don't actually think that stabbing a piece of meat with whatever serving utensils you choose is not inherently disrespectful. Not the asshole, but at that point, I would have asked the waiter for a fork and quite possibly used it on Sil's hand. Am I the asshole? Not wanting to cover my BFS bills? IF, 32, have been with my boyfriend M, 44 for 2 years. A year ago he moved into my apartment mortgaged. His work is freelance and about the same time lost some clients that reduced his income to minimal. For the last 9 months I have been covering all of our shared bills, utilities, food, vitamins, toiletries etc. plus my mortgage. He has to pay child support, so any money he does get goes towards that, which I can't deny. But I'm starting to feel like I am being taken advantage of. He is trying to win new business but hasn't had any luck. He doesn't want to get a regular job though, so hasn't tried that route. Am I the asshole for finding this a turn off and considering my options whether I want to stay? I haven't brought it up with him recently because when I do we argue. I know he's trying, but I feel like I'm carrying all of our life burdens. He is very supportive otherwise and we have a good relationship, very loving and fun etc. In case you're wondering, I don't have children of my own and very much do want to start a family. Hard to imagine that happening right now though. But I'm starting to feel like I am being taken advantage of. Not the asshole because you are being taken advantage of. 9 months is far too long for this to go on. No one wants a job they don't like, but at this point he needs to swallow his pride and step up until he is able to make the current job work well enough to contribute. You need to make it clear that you are looking for a stable relationship that will lead to a family, and he will need to make massive changes if he is going to be the other half of that relationship. Your boyfriend is a cockaloger, mom. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Do not start a family with this man. He doesn't care enough about you to not be a financial burden. How many years will you support him before you realize he's a mooch? His work plan isn't feasible now and won't improve. He needs a job and a paycheck. Don't waste any more time on him. You don't have a great relationship when it's predicated on you supporting him and he gets angry if you bring it up. Get out now and stop wasting your time on him. Your 44-year-old BF is someone's ex for a reason. At this age, he shouldn't have to sponge off of a woman 12 years younger. It's time to take out the trash. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If his income has dropped, then he needs to have his child support reduced. And he needs to get off his butt and pick up extra work. Wrote I do 75 of the chores. He cooks about 50, which is nice, and cleans the kitchen, but I do everything else. So for the last 9 months you are working, paying all of the shared bills and doing 75 of everything in the house. Yes, you are being taken advantage of. Of course he doesn't want to get a regular job. Why would he want to give up the easy life he has when you're doing it all? You're 44 again. 44-year-old boyfriend has no job, brings in no income, doesn't pay for shared bills, lives in your place rent-free with you paying the mortgage, and acts petulant when you raise the issue of you solely providing for both people. Unless you want to be his adoptive mother with benefits for him, please consider your self-worth and life goals, such as wanting to start a family and find a worthy mate who shares values, lifestyle, goals and can be a partner. Just because someone is fun, sexy, etc. doesn't make them a partner or father material. You are not the asshole. Nobody wants to feel like they are being taken advantage of. His refusal to get a normal job is kind of taking the piss. What would he do if you weren't there? Pretty sure he'd have to get a job then. I think the only way forward is to actually tell him how you feel, but him kind of getting feelings that you could do better than this guy. Hope it all works out. Oh, you're definitely being taken advantage of. There's a reason some men select women considerably younger to fasten on. You're supporting a man who refuses to get a job to support himself. Put him out. He has no potential as a mate. You're not the asshole, you're just a convenient way for him to live, and support his child, while you foot all the bills. Not the asshole. This will be your life forever if you stay with him. Not the asshole. By the way, you don't have a boyfriend. You have a walking, talking sponge who acts like he's 12. Hate to ask, but do you know for a fact that he lost clients, or did he just start working less the moment he saw the opportunity for you to cover his bills? I try to be an optimist, but it's happened to me before, so now that's what my gut tells me. I'd say not the asshole regardless, but I'd be very wary in your situation that his loss of clients or inability to get new clients or look for other work isn't just a farce because you're picking up the slack. Not the asshole, you are being taken advantage of and he is not trying. Boot him now. Not the asshole. This guy isn't capable of taking responsibility for himself. You can't build a future with him. If you stay with him another 20 years, that would be 20 years you would have supported him, and then he'd want you to support him through his retirement. This isn't working out. Break up. Give him notice to vacate your home. Stop paying his bills. Stop feeding him. Let him go mooch off someone else. Not the asshole. First of all, he claims that he lost his clients and is trying to find new ones, but there's no way for you to know that's actually the case. For all you know, the projects were scheduled to be over then, anyway, or he could have cancelled them. You don't know, but the timing is very suspicious. Secondly, if he can't get enough business to pay his basic bills, then his business model is unfeasible and he needs to drop it and find another way to make a living. Not the asshole and he's a burden. He needs to start contributing or he needs to GTFO. On top of that, paying child maintenance to another woman. Run. Not the asshole. You're being too patient with a grown-ass boy. Any man would want a woman like you, that's the problem. Some men will take advantage and some will get off their ass and get a job, figure life out, because the truth of the matter is if you weren't supporting him, he would be homeless, or he would do what he has to do. Point blank period. Sounds a lot like he has a hobby and not a job career. I heard McDonald's is hiring at $15 an hour. Time to start and he can do his hobbies when he gets home. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If you weren't bailing him out, he'd have to get a regular job. It's easy to rest on your laurels while someone else is footing the bills. Yes, you're being taken advantage of. Not the asshole. He is leeching off you. And living a fine lazy life. He needs to grow up, get a full-time job and start to contribute. I know he's trying. No, he's not. Getting a job would be trying. Not the asshole. This guy can't even pay his expenses, let alone save for retirement. It's time to end this relationship and move on. Not the asshole for not wanting to cover his bills. YTA for staying with this deadbeat. Not the asshole and run for the hills. Not the asshole, you're paying his child support effectively. I am being taken advantage of. Ftfee. Not the asshole. Time to move on. He is taking advantage of you. Whoa. If he were your husband, and that was the agreement, it might be different. If you want to have kids, then you need to move on. It will be very difficult to work full-time, have babies and be the sole support of your BF. Not the asshole at all, but be aware that if you decide he needs to go and he refuses to leave, you are almost certainly going to have to evict him in court if you're in the US anyway, which could get really messy. You two need to separate. ESH. Him because he's a user. You because you're acting like a doormat. But I'm starting to feel like I am being taken advantage of. Yeah, think? Not the asshole. He sounds like a mooch. Do not have kids with this guy. He already has one he can't afford. He will drain you dry. Not the asshole. He is too old to not be contributing. You buy this man's vitamins, for Christ's sake, find someone who is more on your level. Speaking as someone who had a BF move-in that was trying to freelance and I paid for everything, this does not bode well for you. Get out while you can. Don't waste 10 years like I did getting taken advantage of financially. I even married him, which was a huge mistake. Went into debt to pay for everything. Not the asshole when he isn't willing to pay his part. Am I the asshole? For excluding my granddaughter and son from a family vacation? Throw away. So I have one biological son and granddaughter from my first marriage, and one stepdaughter and 3 step-grandchildren from my now wife. My wife and I have been married for about 20 years now, so I have seen all of my step-grandchildren grow up since they were babies and consider them like my own. My wife and I recently had the idea to take a family vacation to Mexico. We live in the US, but due to our large family size, we couldn't afford to pay for everyone ourselves. We invited all of our kids and grandkids but told them that they would have to pay their own way if they wanted to come. I will admit I knew my stepdaughter and her kids are in a much better financial situation than my bio son and granddaughter, but I wanted to pitch them the idea regardless so that they could decide if it was something they were willing to splurge on. My bio granddaughter is 10, so of course her dad would be the one paying for her. I gave everyone about a month to decide and my stepdaughter quickly agreed. My son was taking longer to respond, so I would frequently call him and my granddaughter trying to persuade them to come. They eventually declined, saying they really wanted to go but just couldn't afford to. My wife, stepdaughter, step-grandchildren, and I all left for Mexico a few months later and had a grand time. We took a bunch of photos, and upon returning, I showed them to my son and granddaughter, describing all the fun we had and telling them I wish they could have been there. My son and granddaughter got quiet, and after they had left, my son angrily texted me saying that my granddaughter started crying because she had really wanted to go and that he didn't appreciate me rubbing the vacation and my favoritism in their faces. I didn't think I had done anything wrong, but now their reactions have me questioning if I'm TA for excluding them from the family trip. You're the asshole. Not for excluding them. You didn't exclude them, they couldn't afford to go. You're the asshole for not being smart enough to understand that rubbing it in their faces and showing them all the fun they missed is messed up. They wanted to go, but couldn't afford it. That's hard enough without you flaunting. So I would frequently call him and my granddaughter trying to persuade them. The granddaughter? She's 10, how could she commit and pay for the trip herself? Sounds like you used her to try guilt trip your son into something he couldn't afford. What a mess. You're the asshole from every angle. You're the asshole. Not for going with the step family, but for not being sensitive to the fact that your son and granddaughter missed out on the fun due to finances, and then rubbing their faces in all the great times the rest of you had. You're the asshole if you really wished your son and granddaughter could have been there with you. Knowing his financial situation, I'm sure it didn't change all those times you called to check in for the trip, then you should have offered to pay even a part of the cost. Could have called it a gift and had memories with them to last. Big asshole move rubbing your fun vacation in their faces, and the comment. Absolutely disgusting. You are toxic and are showing disgusting favoritism. Also, a month's notice? Yeah, you didn't want them there. Clearly you have a family you want and a family by obligation. You made that situation impossible for your son and did it on purpose. You're the asshole. If you weren't playing favorites, you would have chosen something everyone could afford. Did you do this sort of thing to your son when he was growing up too? Sounds like you prefer your second family. You're the asshole for not showing any basic emotional understanding. But you only gave the parents a month to decide and plan? Really? You knew they weren't in a great financial situation and you didn't give them time to plan. If you gave them a year to save it, that would have been a lot better. You're the asshole. And not for excluding them like you ask, but because you shouldn't have showed them the pictures and told them how much fun you had without first taking their feelings into consideration, especially your granddaughter's. She obviously had no choice to not attend as she couldn't pay for it herself and her dad couldn't afford it. To them, it absolutely looks like you're rubbing your vacation in their face and showing them what they missed out on. To them, or at least her, it probably also looks like some kind of favoritism. And BTW, a month's notice isn't much time at all to save up for this kind of vacation. Another utter embarrassment of a father that forgets his biological children for his new family. Hope you need an organ soon. You're the asshole. I wouldn't be surprised if your son and granddaughter would be low contact with you from now on or cut you off. Did you have to rub it in her face and brag about all the fun you had? Did you offer to pay first and then your son should pay you back over time? You clearly prefer your stepdaughter, as you said you knew she was more financially stable. You chosen a trip knowing your son couldn't afford it with a month's notice. 10,000. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. A month's notice is not enough. If you Am I the asshole? For not wanting to watch my brother's kids on our family vacation? I'm on vacation with my immediate family. I'm F30 and my two brothers are in their late 30s. They're both married and they each have kids, 5 kids total, ranging in age from 3 to 9 years old. My parents are also on the trip, and I am accompanied by my boyfriend of 2 years. We're here for a week and it's been really fun so far. We have a mix of days where we have activities planned and then a few free days. My family has had a text thread going for months with all of the trip planning, so we knew which days were activity versus free days. My boyfriend and I planned a romantic dinner for one of the free nights at a really nice restaurant on the island. We made a reservation months ago because it books up. I was getting ready to go out and one of my sister-in-laws made a comment about me dressing up to stay in. I was confused and asked her to clarify. She said that she, my brother, and my other married brother and his wife were doing a couple's spa evening experience that they booked a few days earlier and they needed me and my BF to watch all of their kids. She said my brother was supposed to have asked me earlier that day. He forgot to. When I explained that my boyfriend and I already had plans, she was super unsympathetic. She said they already prepaid for the spa experience and since we hadn't paid for the dinner yet, it wouldn't make sense for them to have to cancel their plans. I never agreed to watch their kids. I love my nieces and nephews, but my family knows I am child-free and have been for years. It's been a point of contention for a long time. I wouldn't mind watching them if I had been given advanced notice, but to have them slapped on me when I had plans with my BF made me really upset. My sister-in-law said I didn't understand how much she needed the time away from her kids because I don't have kids of my own. She said I was being selfish and I could handle one night of being a mom. It's not the point. I would have agreed if she had asked me months ago before my BF and I made dinner plans. I checked and we wouldn't be able to get another reservation before we leave. My parents walked in on us arguing, and eventually they offered to watch the kids. They were supposed to go to a free concert on the beach together but decided to cancel so someone could stay with the kids. I felt really bad but my mom insisted. Now it's the next day and my sister-in-law won't even look at me. I'm pissed at her too but we're stuck here for a week so I don't know what to do. My mom thinks I should apologize but I feel I'm the one owed the apology here. Am I the asshole? Edit forgot add we are not staying in a resort hotel that would have babysitting services, we're staying in a family friend's vacation house rental property. She said I was being selfish and I could handle one night of being a mom. Why not ask really politely? Making accusations is not the way to get people to be nice to you. And accept a reasonable no? You had made plans just like they had. You couldn't read schedule. And also she got what she needed, a babysitter for the night. So why is she mad at you and not at her husband or herself for not organizing her stuff properly? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Securing childcare is the first thing a responsible parent does when planning a night out. Not the asshole. Your siblings and their significant others decided that you would be babysitting their children on vacation with a few hours' notice, and one of them got mad when you said no. The entitlement is real. You're not their servant at their beck and call. If they had this spa day planned they should have asked you when they were booking it if you were okay babysitting. One of two things happened. 1. They just assumed you'd do it. 2. Your brother forgot to ask when they were planning. Either way it's on them. Your sister-in-law needs an attitude adjustment and your siblings took you for granted. Not the asshole. This is on your brothers and their wives for failing to make sure they had things arranged in advance. Expecting you to drop your plans last minute because they failed to make sure their plans were solidified is not reasonable. Wow, not the asshole. Your brother and Sil are the ass because he failed to ask you so they could make other plans when they learned you were busy, and you're Sil for seeing herself as the victim in this scenario. Her entitlement is through the roof. Certain types of people use their parenthood as a bludgeon to browbeat others. They're doing the world a favor for producing children. Not the asshole. Pick your phrase. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Whatever works. Your mom is wrong about you needing to apologize. Your sil does to both you and your mom. To you, for being an entitled bee by demanding you plans to accommodate hers, and is now sulking because you wouldn't, and to your mom for moaning about it so much that mom cancelled her plans to watch the kids. Not the asshole. Your sister expecting you to cancel your plans at the last minute because she thinks hers are more important is entitled as fuck. Not the asshole. This reads like her plan was to dump them on you just as she's slipping out the door and pull the mom card if you objected. Such entitlement. Did not read till the end. Obviously not the asshole. Not your kids, not your responsibility. Not the asshole. Your sister-in-law is behaving entitled, and she is also being incredibly nasty. Her kids, her choice. Not your effing problem. You were even being diplomatic about it. She can think what she wants, I just let her wallow in peace. Edit grammar. Not the asshole. They failed to ask until the last minute. That's 100 their fault. I hope you had a great dinner. Reason number 74 why I don't vacation with family or friends. F that noise. Not the asshole. And their kids are not your problem. Make it quite clear, they need to organize childcare and leave you out of it. He who sired the child shall arrange for care. Not the asshole. Her monkeys, her circus. Not. It's my job to secure childcare arrangements for my kids before I make plans to go out. They didn't. Not your job to deal with their lack of planning. Not the asshole. But I am curious why free days were not discussed in the family text thread. This goes for all parties in this story. A vacation of 13 is not easily to set up and definitely can cause chaos. You don't need to apologize, but I would definitely address the communication issue. Not the asshole. Your family is being insanely presumptuous and inconsiderate. You aren't obligated to watch their kids nor to bail them out of the problem that they've brought on themselves. They should have run this by you months ago when it was being planned. I'm sorry it's become so tense and unpleasant, but they are super out of line here and I think you should hold firm. Your mom is trying to keep the peace, bless her, but you have nothing to apologize for. You're a free woman. They chose to have kids. They have to miss a few things. Not the asshole. They should have asked you before they made the reservations. Your sil and brothers are all TA. Plans were taking place in a group chat for months in advance and not once was childcare mentioned. You are most certainly not the asshole. Not the asshole. I do not understand why these people think that anyone but the parents are responsible for their own kids. You don't owe them anything, they are acting like entitled assholes. Not the asshole. Fuck them kids. Not your responsibility. They can't just expect to plan a spa day around someone else looking after their own kids. You and your BF had plans, I hope you enjoyed them. Not the asshole. How would you expect someone else to cancel plans they made months ago at minute's notice for anything other than an emergency? Her feeling like booking herself a spa without having the decency to tell you is not an emergency. And then to justify it by completely disrespecting you and your time? You are owed an apology for the rudeness and utter lack of consideration. Spoiler alert: your brother didn't forget to ask you. He was planning to spring it on you to bully you into cancelling your plans. It was really foolish of them to pre-book and prepay for an experience without having already secured childcare. Very, very foolish. Weird that all 4 members of the spa quartet never mentioned anything to you about babysitting beforehand. Do not apologize to anyone. You didn't do anything wrong. Am I the asshole? For asking a teacher not to pair me and my stepsister together for a school project. I am the same age as my stepsister. We have a couple of classes together and one of those is social studies. Our teacher had talked about a project coming up where we'd be put into pairs and expected to work together for a prolonged period of time. I knew my stepsister would want to be paired with me, so a couple of weeks before the pairs were assigned I asked the teacher if she could not pair us up. She and I talked for a few minutes and she assured me we wouldn't be. I was relieved. Then when we were paired up, my stepsister asked the teacher why wasn't with me. She told her that she wanted to give everyone the chance to do the project with someone they hadn't worked with before. My stepsister went home and complained to her mom. Then her mom complained to my dad. Then they both complained to the teacher and lied and told her that both my stepsister and I had complained to them. The teacher was like, I thought unhappy, didn't want to be paired with stepsister, and it became a fight between them. Then my dad asked me what the hell I had done. He said I knew my stepsister would want to be with me and I went out of my way to be with anyone else. He said she only wants to have some time with me and working together would have been a great bonding experience for us, since I have never put much focus on bonding with her. They think I'm a dick now, and my stepsister was upset. She heard my dad and her mom yelling about it and she was hurt I didn't want to be paired with her. The reason I didn't want to pair with her is I did not want to spend all that time with her on the project. She's always trying to cling on to me and I don't like it. I don't dislike her, but I'm not interested in being her friend or anything either. I'm polite, I'm civil, but I don't care about being close. I'd never get time to myself if I gave in. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your dad and stepmom are for trying to push a relationship with your stepsister on you. Not the asshole. However, be more open about this stuff in the future without being impolite, because intrigue is often like a boomerang. Does your stepsister not have social contacts besides you? Your father and stepmother went to the teacher to complain about pairing you up for a school assignment. Then they lied about you wanting to be paired up with her. I think it's safe to say your teacher totally understands why you wanted space from your stepsister with such a boundary disrespecting family. OMG. Not the asshole. Opnatar. Your parents need to stop making you her emotional support animal. You are 16. I don't know how long you have been a family, but even if you were bi or sibs, you don't have to make these perfect family bonds that they are trying to force on you. I'm sorry that you are being pushed on this matter. You are 16, 2 more years. Stay strong, build a support network. Not the asshole. Is there something I'm missing here? Why would your stepsister have some expectation of being paired with you to begin with? It doesn't really matter that she wanted to. If it's assigned pairs, I don't see why she would think being with you would be guaranteed. Not the asshole. Your dad and his wife sound like a nightmare for kicking up a fuss at your school over something so stupid, not to mention dragging you into their lie. Stepsister needs to learn the world doesn't revolve around her, although I doubt it will happen with parents like these. If you need some space from the Klingon, my suggestion would be to try and keep yourself busy and away from home with extracurriculars or a part-time job. Good luck. Not the asshole. Well done you for creating and knowing your boundaries and sticking to them. Continue doing that. To quote Viola Davis, when it comes down to disappointing other people, or disappointing yourself, choose other people all the time. It is your job in life to disappoint as many people as you can, so you do not disappoint yourself. Not the asshole. I can understand why the teacher was confused and let it slip. Your father misrepresented your desire to avoid being with your stepsister. Your father is putting your stepsister's wishes to be paired with you above the wishes you have to do this project with someone else. That is unfortunate. I don't get why blended parents don't understand that they chose to get married to each other. Their respective kids did not get to make that choice. It's one thing to expect the kids to live together amicably, but trying to force two 16-year-olds to suddenly become best friends is too much. Most natural siblings don't get along that well. Not the asshole. Your parents are. Not the asshole. It was a foolish mistake on the teacher's part to let slip that you didn't want to be paired with your stepsister, But your father and his wife are the assholes here. Your stepsister is 16, and they're throwing a hissy fit because she didn't get her way regarding partner for a class project. Your stepsister is a minor asshole for kicking up when she was given a reasonable explanation for why she was paired up with the partner she got. Not the asshole. Your parents really shouldn't be interfering like this. Not the asshole, and I'm sorry you're in this mess. You had every right to ask for a different partner, and you shouldn't feel pressured to bond with your stepsister. It's doubly frustrating that your dad and stepmother lied to your teacher. Stick to your guns. Not the asshole, but I agree with another editor, and I would bring up this issue with the guidance counselor as well. Perhaps during planning your schedule in the future they can try to put you in different class periods if you have to take the same classes. I know when I was in high school they always tried to keep myself, my brother and my cousin out of the same class periods even if we all had the same teacher. That way we could study together, but weren't forced together all day. Not the asshole, and sounds like your stepsister has a little crush on you. This clingy shit is weird, and I would be like you except more rude about it. Get the fuck away from me. Not the asshole, and I can guarantee your parents will never attempt to make you bond ever again if you ask them how close do you want me to get with my stepsister. I mean, I have heard of the videos, but I'm not really that interested. Not the asshole. Your father and stepmother are demented and abusive. Share your issues with a school counselor. Don't give an inch on this, because people who don't respect boundaries take that as a green light to trample over you forever. It doesn't matter what crazy people think of you, they're wrong. You aren't obliged to let her cling to you. Not the asshole. And the mere fact that your parents went to teacher over this shows there is an unhealthy dynamic of trying to push others to do what your stepsister wants. In my kids' school, they deliberately separate twins into different classes, so the kids would form their own social ties and not get glued together. Hey, just be truthful. Tell your dad he chose his wife and the wife's daughter, but you didn't. He needs to respect that. Tell him that if he pushes this, then it will impact your relationship with him forever after you become an adult. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Seemed like a reasonable request to me. Sister was selfish and manipulative. That seems like a red flag. Nata, you're your own person. Don't let your family bully you into being her partner. They need to respect your choice in the matter. Not the asshole. Your parents are the assholes, not trying to see it from your point of view and trying to shove their ideas of how things should go on you. I wonder if it would help to sit down with just them and tell them how you feel. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with it. Not the asshole. You deserve some space. Too much time together can be not great too. My cousin and I went to the same school in the same year. Then my grandma would watch us both after school. The fighting between us became a lot, and my grandmother called the school to tell them not to pair us together or let us play together at recess. Then, we were good at home again. Not the asshole. It's not a good idea to pair kids who live together on a school project. It usually ends up being a little too much togetherness and can cause home family tension if there's issues. And it's extremely weird that your dad and stepmom lied about you wanting to be paired together. And that they threw this big of a fit about it. Emo, they know your stepsister is a little shy, awkward, dysfunctional, and hope that you kind of manage this for her instead of helping her learn her own social skills. I see you having to go no contact with you dad in the future. Sorry, but he sounds like he is trying to force his new family down your throat. Not the asshole. You didn't choose to be in her family. You didn't go out and pick her like your dad did her mother. Bonding with her was never your aim, and it shouldn't be forced on you. Am I the asshole? For meowing with my cat. I have a very vocal cat. He meows a lot and also expects a response to this meowing. If you don't respond, he becomes a bit stressed, insulted. And he seems to really enjoy having this interaction with me. I always meow when he does, and we have conversations where we meow at each other. My partner hates this, Partner thinks the noise is awful and wants me to teach the cat to stop meowing, or at the very least want me to ignore my cat when he meows at me, but to me this would be like ignoring a friend trying to talk to me. My partner considers me the asshole for not stopping with the meowing despite being told it is very annoying, and think it is very little effort. Am I the asshole? For not respecting my partner's boundaries here, and meowing with my cat? Not the asshole. Meow meow, meow meow. Meow meow meow. Not the asshole. My wife talks to our 2 cats like they are children. It's stupid but I don't mind. One of our cats is very vocal, the other is not. I sometimes meow at the vocal one too, it's just a bit of fun. Perhaps he just isn't a cat person, boo. Bonus fun fact: cats only meow for attention from humans, they don't meow at each other. Not the asshole. Sounds like your BF doesn't know how to interact bond with pets. My DH and our now deceased tuxedo cat Mr. Man, used to have nightly conversations when DH got home from work. It melted my heart to witness each time they had their evening chats. Not the asshole. X200B. Meowing is communicating. Communicating is important. X200B. I once knew a deaf cat that was upset when people didn't talk to him. He wanted mouth movements just like his family was getting. Your partner is no damn fun. I think cats enjoy the interaction of being responded to. I enjoy an interactive, vocal cat. Maybe you can redirect the cat by immediately cuddling with it, or at least giving it a quick pet when it meows at you. God help you if you have a child with your partner and the baby babbles or, gasp, learns to speak. Oh, the horror. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. My cat is 16 years old. We have conversations like this and I talk to him. He can clearly say a few words and understands some of what I say. He can say mom, now, yes, no and my name. Cats are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. Your partner needs to understand that. To ignore your cat is just like ignoring a toddler. Not the asshole. Don't think you would ever be able to teach the cat to stop meowing. Ignoring the cat will probably end changing the cat's behavior for the worse. Said as a caretaker of my own cats for 35 years, and living with them for over 50 years. That's not what a boundary is. Your partner is controlling and unempathetic. Have fun chatting with your cat and reconsider if this person is respectful to you. Not the asshole. Edited to remove gender assumption. I asked Gabe and Rue, and they said meow 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 mro meow, which I'm pretty sure means not the asshole. I meowed back for clarification, but they just closed their eyes and went back to sleep. My cats are part Siamese and are both very chatty. My partner and I both talk to the cats constantly, sometimes words, sometimes meows. If he told me to tell the cats to stop meowing, I'd just laugh. I'm not disrespecting the cats like that. Also, they're cats, it's not like they'd actually listen. They'd probably meow louder and more often out of spite. Not the asshole. Dump him. This is a cute interaction that is helping you and your cat bond. And it's your cat, not his. He doesn't get to tell you that your cat can't meow. If it was a dog constantly barking, I'd get it, but meows are not loud. They are cute. If he seriously thinks the noise is awful, then he should not ever be a cat owner. I really enjoy how you gave the age and gender of your cat, but no one else in this story. Not the asshole, and don't ever trust someone who has genuine beef with harmless animal behavior. He wants to teach a cat to stop meowing? Nata holy shit. Not the asshole. Everyone meows back at their cats when they meow. It's just what we do and cats seem to like it for some reason. Nah. Someone continually making noise for the purpose of making noise is really annoying. I sympathize with your partner. On the other hand, the cat has been in your life longer, and this isn't new. And while it is possible to train cats, There really isn't a good way to stop behavior like chatty meowing, and it might damage the psyche of the cat. The best compromise would be to talk to your cat with the lilting up sound a meow has. Cat gets his kitty conversation, and partner is less annoyed. Not the asshole. Cats can be vocal, and yours is obviously to bond with you and to communicate. He loves you. Your partner is being a wet blanket. Kitty probably gives better snuggles too, smiley cat face. Cat expects a response. How could you be for being polite? Not Want me to teach the cat to stop meowing? Want me to ignore my cat? Is this the first cat this man has encountered? Not the asshole but PLS show cat. Not the asshole. Meow 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 cat tax meow. Not the asshole, but personally, I can agree that I would probably find this pretty annoying. I say not the asshole because you and the cat had this interaction long before your partner came into the picture. That said, your partner would not be the if this annoys them enough to not want to live with you anymore. Find you someone who will meow at your cat with you Not the asshole. I used to do the same thing with one of my cats. We could have whole conversations. Loved it. ISTM that the fact that your partner doesn't like it is a red flag. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Several of my cats over the years liked to hold long conversations. My present one can spend 10 minutes talking about what he's been doing in the garden all day, sleeping in a hedge, mostly. Not the asshole. I talk to our cats and have a bit of back and forth with the younger one, Bug, but I usually use human words. Meow Bug, I'm not doing that, it's against the Geneva Convention. Meow, I don't care if you'll give me a cut of the profits, this is too big, I'm out. I'm afraid you might have to rehome him. I'm sure you and your cat will be fine without him, though. Not the asshole. If your boyfriend won't give this up, then tell him his noise is getting annoying. Meowing is how cats talk to us. If they can't do that, they can't let us know what they need. It's abusive to try and fully silence any animal. I demand the pet tax. Not the asshole. Cats meow mostly for their kittens and us. Because we are bad at being cats and need special instructions. Your cat communicates with you, it would be cruel to stop responding. If you look at the psychology of cats, it is very beneficial to meow back at them. This is a good healthy bond between you and the cat. You are honoring this animal as you should. You might need to talk with your significant other and tell him, hey, it is the way it is. Unless you're having long conversations with your cat at 3 a.m. I don't see the issue. Not the asshole. I love that you gave us the cat's age. Like it's relevant to the story. Nightly occurrence. Like wandering the house after a nap, meow? Me, I'm in here, like running into the room, meep. This usually happens at bedtime when he's not sure if I'm in bed yet. I love how he runs to me and immediately starts purring and asking for face rubs. Not the asshole, and frankly, I don't trust people who aren't kind to animals. Lol WTF. Not the asshole. I do this with my vocal female tortie and I couldn't imagine DB so hurt by that lack of interaction. She also has a very loud and prominent meow. It doesn't bother any of us. Cats meow. Not the asshole. Your cat clearly seeks you out to do this and would be unhappy if you suddenly ignored him. Nah, in terms that he can be annoyed by this and that's how you just are with your cat. Am I the asshole? For not wanting